Thank everybody for joining us today. I'm Rob with Pursuit of Purpose, and I've got with me three amazing gentlemen. And I said gentlemen.
I was wondering how you'd say that. Amazing is a little much, but okay.
So joined with us remotely. Go ahead and introduce yourself for those of our audience who don't know you just yet.
I am State Representative Scott Bottoms in Colorado. My district is District 15, which is the east side of Colorado Springs. And I'm also a pastor. Been a pastor since I was 20 years old.
Very good. All right. So I see you're a doctor. What's your doctorate?
I'm a doctor. My doctorate is in intercultural spiritual leadership.
Say that 3 times fast.
Wow.
Right. That's some big stuff.
I don't know what that means. You must be very, very intelligent.
I have no idea what it means.
Yeah. All right. And my co-host, of course, let him introduce himself.
Yeah, everybody, Chuck.
And last but certainly not least, to my right, between Chuck and I, we have
Kevin Steele, 1813 anchor and reporter, 1813 News, former ABC affiliate news anchor, and I guess a 35-year news anchor. Wow, I feel old just talking about it. 35 years in news and television sports.
Right on.
That's impressive. It's impressive to survive the industry that long, from what I understand.
Tell me.
And so today, as all of you guys know, we are taking on a very challenging topic that no doubt touches a lot of our lives, and it's got a lot of charged feedback that come from the audience in different ways. And the topic is immigration, and specifically legal versus illegal, and how do we deal with it, and how's it impacting your great state there, Dr. Bottoms, Representative Bottoms, and gubernatorial candidate Scott Bottoms. What's going on in Colorado in regards to illegal immigration?
So I did want to, if you give me a little bit of liberty here, I did want to kind of preface this.
Absolutely.
With who I've been as a pastor over the last 35 years. It'll be 35 years. Well, it is 35 years already, but this is this is something that's always been on my heart. I lived in El Paso when I was a kid for about 5 or 6 years. El Paso, Texas. I am in El Paso County now. People get confused, but lived there for from 1979 until 1985, and very much part of the Hispanic community. We actually lived in a little community outside of El Paso, right on the Texas-New Mexico border, called Anthony, Texas. It was actually Anthony, Texas, New Mexico, and then Old Mexico was right at the end of Main Street. And so this has been part of my understanding and my background, my culture for a long time. Now, even back in those days, the gangs had taken over many different little areas, specifically right around the hub of El Paso, but also El Paso. And MS-13 was very strong, even in the late 70s where I was. There, you could see it everywhere. Okay, so, and as a kid, I would watch drugs in a way that when I lived in Dallas, I really didn't see that much. It was a different concept. But having grown up with that, and then in 1996, I moved to Colorado and became the lead pastor of a church. I'd been a youth pastor before that, and now my first lead pastor position at 26 years old, which I questioned those people's judgment for voting me in. But the area that we lived in at that time is southeastern Colorado. It's called the Arkansas River Valley. The Arkansas River flows right through that down into many other states, and the whole area was migrant workers, farming, irrigation farming, dry land also, but right along the river, irrigation farming going out all around it. And so we had a lot of, our church was about, by the time we left there, our church was about 70% plus Hispanic. And we also had Hispanic ministry that was only Spanish speaking.
Right.
We brought in people to do that. Well, I have helped from that time. I have helped many people become naturalized and get green cards, get working visas, all that kind of stuff. I sponsored so many people over the years, and that was a major part of our ministry there in that church, was to try to help people get ministry, get saved, these kind of things, but also help them with the legal side of this. So then I moved up east of Denver to pastor a church there for about 11, 12 years. And it's in a community called Strasburg, which is a bunch of small communities kind of all put together. And it really was a bedroom community of Denver. And but you could go out there and buy 2 or 3 acres of land and have a horse you never ride and things like that. So a lot of the farming going east there is a lot of farming and ranching going east of Denver. In fact, all the eastern side of Colorado is farming and ranching. But most of your migrant workers out in that area were South Africans, and mostly like Dutch South Africans. And so same thing, we had some families started coming to the church that were South African, and they were illegal, they weren't naturalized. And so we began the process with them. In fact, one of them got put, ICE picked him up, and I did this when I was down south too, but I spent a lot of time at ICE, just constantly in Aurora, where the Venezuelan cartel is, which we'll get to. But and I've worked in this space for a long, long time, helping people. I know the system, and by the way, I do know the system is kind of rigged. It's not the best system that we could have in the United States for having people come in and be a part of the United States. But it is important to remember that we naturalize over 1 million people every year in the United States. And that seems to be lost on all these people that are saying that somehow that we're a mean country that doesn't like migrants. We're a very pro-migrant country. We just also have a rule of law and expect people to go by that. But in Denver right now, it's about an hour north of me. I'm going to be driving through there in a few hours. We have seen statistics now that ICE is producing, and also the State Department is producing, that is showing that that the number one destination city for illegal immigrants in the United States is not in California, it's not New York, it's Denver. And
Really?
yeah, I didn't know this until just a couple months ago, but Denver is one of the highest destination cities in the entire United States for illegals. And part of the reason is because we do so much to pander that and enable the legality, not the migrant. We're still a very diverse city with legal immigrants, but we pander much to the illegal side of this. And I can get into all of these details as we unpack this. But Denver is, in fact, Carolyn Levitt, the press secretary, anytime she brings up illegal immigration, she just did this a few days ago. She had a big thing about it. And Denver's always brought up because we have the highest numbers that are taking from Medicaid, and we also pass amazingly high bills to fund illegal immigrants and illegal immigrant medical help and all this other kind of stuff.
So you're a magnet city, or
yeah, we are, and we're also a sanctuary state and a sanctuary city. Our governor, he wants to run for president. He was doing kind of okay in the polls for a while, but Gavin Newsom has left him, and now Buttigieg is apparently talking about jumping in, and he's pushing our governor down further. So now our governor has to do stuff, right? He has to be the president guy, and so he's acting like he's moving to the middle. He's always acted like that a little bit, but he's the most Marxist governor in the United States, in my opinion. But we are a sanctuary state. He keeps saying we're not. We are a sanctuary state because of our laws and because of policies that he continues to put forward. And the mayor of Denver just openly declared a few years ago, we are a sanctuary city. Aurora has declared they're a sanctuary city. We have a Venezuelan cartel in Aurora that has taken over a handful of blocks of Aurora. And the chief of police of Aurora, I got this from Aurora cops, many of them, almost 15 cops have said this to me out of Aurora, that their chief of police has said that community in Aurora is off limits. Don't go in there. It belongs to them.
Wow.
Although our Constitution says that one of the main 3 jobs of the governor of the state of Colorado is to protect the citizens of Colorado from foreign adversaries. Foreign. That
Right.
doesn't mean you guys in Texas. That means Venezuelan cartel. And man, there's so much here to unpack, but I could explain a lot about that too. So,
Wow.
I'm really proud to hear your passion about that.
Right.
And I know that in recent times I've found myself studying this and learning about it. And man, I'll tell you what, Minnesota's right there with you in that struggle. Not as far as I know, that not the Venezuelans, but another form of immigrants have taken a big foothold there.
Yeah.
And
this is where the Islamic illegals have taken up, and some of are legal, but they've taken up a stronghold in Minnesota. And Minnesota, I think, and I just saw some numbers recently, but Minnesota, I think, actually has the highest percentage of increase of funding, medical funding for illegals in that state. Percentage-wise, I think Colorado's about 40-45% increase every year for the last 5 years in this, and Minnesota is like 69-70%. That's mind-boggling, the amount of money. We're talking billions, not hundreds of millions.
Right. That's astounding.
It is.
Kevin has been in the news business for, like he said, 35 years. Not to harp on that too much, but I only say that to enhance his credibility with this type of thing, in that he's kind of been at the forefront, trying to, having to learn the stories so he can deliver the stories to his public. And I'm curious, you're not limited to just Southeast Texas.
Our viewership now, we do digital news, websites and Facebook pages, and then you could think of it as Facebook news. And Dr. Bottom's comments there are very striking because they are very much in line with what we've seen over and over and over again. I spent about 10 years with Channel 4 in the Rio Grande Valley in the Harlingen area. And we worked out of Brownsville. We saw on a daily basis folks in Matamoros swim the river, go to school, swim the river, go back home.
Wow.
We've seen illegal immigration for decades, up close and personal. And it's actually a far worse problem today than it ever was before. And Dr. Bottom points up some, crucial vantage. He has a crucial vantage point here, and people of Colorado are lucky to have him. People don't talk about the idea that, we bring in 1 million legalized immigrants a year.
Right.
We're a very generous country.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to listen to the mainstream narrative, the mainstream media will tell you that we're an awful country. We're just the most horrible people. We're a bigoted country. And, the statistics will continue to bear out the idea that a lot of Americans, a Gallup poll found 45% of Americans thought conservatives were bigoted. Use the word bigoted, especially in the context of how we handle immigrants and minority groups. And so that's a problem, especially with moderates. I looked at it more as an electoral strategy than something that you do because you want to do. From just the electoral strategy vantage point, the conservatives in the United States have to have a compassion towards immigrants, while at the same time sticking very adamantly to the idea of the enforcement of laws that are on the books. Mm-hmm. We're good to immigrants. Mm-hmm. By nature, as a people. Right. The American people I believe, have long been very, very kind to immigrants. But there is, Romans 13, there is a place where we render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And we have laws on the books, and I think we need to stick to them.
Right. Absolutely.
Not
Yep.
overly, put off on the idea of deporting people who are rapists and murderers in Aurora, Colorado. At TDA and MS-13, they don't belong here in the numbers that they're here. And I guess I'm shocked. I'm pretty steadily shocked at the way the American narrative has played out.
Right.
It should be pretty much natural that we enforce our laws. As far as I can,
You would sure think so.
right. Just one guy's vote, just one guy's opinion.
Yeah, and you know what? I find it fascinating. We have a lot of polarizing politics and things like that in our nation, and this is an election season. A lot of stuff going on, and this is a big issue right now, especially with the big push that our federal government's making to make our country safe.
Mm-hmm.
And they're sending ICE agents out, and then you have the liberal Democrats doxing ICE agents and doing things that are just abhorrent. Like these guys, these ICE agents, are being accused of all manners of evil.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically, calling them demons. And then they're calling for attacks on these men and their families that are just doing their jobs.
Right.
They're following orders. And I don't even know how to really put this into words, but it's embarrassing as a citizen. To see my neighbors, because everybody in this country I consider to be my neighbors, but to see them treating their fellow man this way, it's absolutely embarrassing.
Right.
And what are they getting out of it? Who are they really protecting?
Well, that's a good question. Is the question of profit? By kind of being, I guess, the psychobabble guy on the panel. Sorry, Dr. Bottoms.
Have to have one.
They have to have one. But that being said, and I one of my favorite persons to read and listen to is Jordan Peterson. He spent a lot of his material on this chaos and order world. There's going to be chaos and there's going to be order, and order needs to be the dominant player because chaos will exist. And that's just natural. I mean, naturally things do erode and decay, but these people, as you were referencing, Dr. Bottoms, that are from a political position, they are perpetuating chaos. They're perpetuating decay. And what is that mindset? But it only lends itself to those of us, and I think the four of us on the panel today for sure espouse this, to promote order. Because order is really the only way.
Right.
But I like your question, Rob. Who's profiting from the chaos?
Yeah, it's a great question. I would submit to say, I know a lot of Hispanic Americans now in this country living legally or in the process of becoming a legal naturalized citizen who are very concerned about the crime that they see. They are not among the group of people who are quite liberal and say that we must have this national suicide of empathy for the Hispanic Americans who are illegal immigrants coming into this country and may very well be a rapist or a child molester or a murderer. They and we saw it in Texas. In this most recent election, even in border counties, we saw a lot of Americans, Hispanic Americans, say no to the Democratic Party and some of that ideology. Now, above the question of whether it's the right or the wrong thing to do, I think the Republican Party does itself a tremendous amount of good by appearing, I say appearing, trying to reframe this message of whether the Republican Party is a conservative, compassionate group, or whether we are, out there just trying to beat up on the other guys. The electoral strategy I was referencing earlier, that is a simple matter of reframing the message, which is difficult to do with the more liberal national news media. But it has to be reframed. We've got to make the point that order battling lawlessness is the number one goal. And as Dr. Bottoms rightly put it, that we're a party of people who are happy to have Hispanic Americans, Haitian Americans, Nigerian Americans,
Sure.
if they follow the law
Sure.
and make an effort. Now, you can argue the question, shouldn't we make the process easier? Of course.
Yeah.
In my humble
Right.
view, there's the whole process of spending $30, $40, $50,000 becoming legal in the United States and doing, working on it for 7, 8, 10 years.
Right.
It's hideous. We've got to streamline that process. The IRS has never forgotten me. I'll tell you that much. Every single year they remember me and they want my tax money.
That's right.
So it's hard for me to believe that we can't identify and keep a record of all of our immigrant neighbors. We can find them, and I think America would be transformed by the notion of everybody being here and paying into the system.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with immigration, if you ask me, is this question that people are getting off scot-free. That people are coming into our country, not paying taxes. The perception
Mm-hmm.
that immigrants are stealing from the system.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke Rollins, the Department of Agriculture Secretary, saying that she's found thousands and thousands of examples of fraudulent payments, Medicare, Medicaid, your disability, Social Security payments. These are fraudulent payments to illegal immigrants on the order of thousands and thousands, the way she framed it. So we're talking millions or billions of dollars. And the thing that Americans don't want to see is this get off scot-free type mentality.
Right.
They're tired of working at a plant, 10 hours a day, coming home dead tired, paying their taxes, and then having the view that their taxes are going to help a family that's not paying into the system. That's it. I don't see America as a racist, bigoted country. I see America as a country that believes in equal opportunity, but wants everybody equally paying into the system.
Right.
Just a couple of vantage points and that I have, and sounds like the kind of courage that Dr. Bottoms has with this question of immigration. We've got to get to a place where it just makes sense. Mm-hmm. And even from the psychological vantage point, then you don't have the national unrest that we now have, because you then get to a place where Americans feel like, okay, look, I can calm down. I don't need to protest because I can see everybody's paying into the system. More and more, everybody's accounted for. And it just has, I think it's our only answer for calming this very tense situation we're in right now.
Mm. So, Dr. Bottoms, are you seeing this in Colorado? Is there a groundswell of people like us?
Oh yeah, the even looking at some of the changing the narrative, I do believe that's a thing that we've got to do, but I don't work as hard at that right now as I have actually in the past, and the reason is because there's so much that's happening in the state of Colorado. So, so let me use the Venezuelan cartel as one example of a much bigger picture. In fact, I'll unpack a few things here that you probably won't believe, but. So we have this Venezuelan cartel that came in and literally attacked, took over apartment complexes, killed, raped, maimed people. Some people are still in those apartments as kidnapped individuals, and this has been 2 years. Our governor said nothing to see here. Mayor of Denver, nothing to see. Mayor of Aurora, where the cartel is, nothing to see here. Then the DEA announced that the headquarters for all of the Venezuelan cartel in the United States is Aurora, Colorado. So now the governor and the mayors all had to go, oh, well, maybe there is something here. And by the way, our Attorney General Weiser, who is also running for governor on the Democrat side, he tried to sue President Trump because there was no cartel here, but Trump was saying that there was. All right. Here's some bigger picture stuff that goes along with that. Also we passed, this is just one bill, but we passed one bill last year that gave $500 million to illegal immigrants. And specifically, you can go read the bill. I can tell you the number if you're interested, because some people may think I'm making this up. In fact, I'll just tell you it was HB 1039, HB 25. That was this past spring, 1039, I think. Yeah, that sounds right. So it specifically says in the bill, not only $500 million to illegal immigrants, but to illegal immigrant transgender surgeries.
Oh,
Okay. Now, why is that crucial to the conversation of illegal immigrant, not transgender surgery? Because that's the issue, is not actually transgender surgeries there. You guys have heard me talk about that. I can talk about that all day long, right?
Yeah.
But the reason is because there's no mass group of Puerto Ricans or El Salvadorians or Ecuadorians or anything rushing to America. There's no guys from Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Iran rushing to America to have transgender surgeries.
No.
So why would they put that much money? This is just in our state. Okay, it's because now this is where you're gonna have to hold on for a second and let me explain this out. The Democrat leftist Marxist leadership in the state of Colorado, the Democrat House, Senate, and the governor's office want to prop up illegal immigration and want to prop up illegal immigrant crime. And they want to prop up, and we know this is where the dollars are going, they want to prop up the Venezuelan cartel in Aurora. Now you would say, well, why would they want to do that? Everybody, there's no winners there if you do that, but there is winners because of what you said earlier. Who's getting the ROI on this?
Right.
Where is this coming to? Okay, so let me broaden this out just a little bit. We had the Venezuelan cartel, which is also the Venezuelan government. They're the same thing in Venezuela. This is why Trump has been fighting so much with Venezuela, because the cartel and the government are the same thing. They made a statement, they released a statement this last spring that said that the reason that the cartel, and they're not even shy about this, the reason that the TDA exists, the Venezuelan cartel exists in the United States, but specifically in the state of Colorado, is to not run children, not run drugs, which is what they do.
Mhm.
But it is to disrupt the financial and political systems of our country.
Huh.
Okay, this is important.
Yep.
Because Colorado is doing everything they can. The leadership now, the average Democrat across the state of Colorado is not behind this, and probably most of them don't even know a lot of this stuff is happening. That's what our polling numbers are showing, is they don't even actually know this stuff is going on. But when they find out, they make it very clear that they are not okay with what the Democrat leadership is doing. And we could talk about this, but there's articles by Forbes magazine, Denver Post, all kinds of different groups that have tried to those are liberal groups that are trying to wake up the Colorado leadership, because they've lost the Democrat Party. And the number one issue is grooming of children. The second issue in the state of Colorado is the crime. But the grooming and the crime go hand in hand when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay, so why would the state of Colorado want to prop up the Venezuelan cartel when they are going to disrupt political and financial systems? The Democrat Marxist leadership in Colorado want that to happen, because we have to tear down our republic so you can build Marxism. To do that, you have to also have, this is a whole nother conversation, but you got to have an in-between. And that's why a lot of the media uses terms like democracy now. Okay. Right. When Trump sent the military into California, you started seeing on CNN, MSNBC, all of the fake news, you started seeing, well, this disrupts and destroys our democracy. Well, heads up, we're not a democracy.
Right.
We're a republic. But that's why they start using this language. And they've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, because to move from a republic to a Marxist system, you've got to have something in between. You don't go from we the people to we the state.
Right.
You have to have something in between, which is we the majority. And that's what democracy does. Okay. At the same time, in southern Colorado, coming across the southern part of Colorado, out of Utah, but it originated in Mexico, there was a van that was stopped. It was just kind of a random stop out in the middle of nowhere. If you knew this part of Colorado, there's nothing out there. And a couple little communities. And this sheriff stopped this van coming through and found 800,000 rounds of ammunition in this van coming to Pueblo, Colorado, 30 miles south of me here. This is to arm the military of the Venezuelan cartel that is in Aurora, Colorado, so that when Trump brings in the National Guard, or when I'm governor, and I've said this many, many times, the moment I put my hand on the Bible and take the oath of office as governor, the National Guard will have already surrounded that community, and they will go in with the rules of engagement being destroy everything Venezuelan cartel. Destroy. Get rid of them, kill them, do whatever it takes to get these cartel thugs out of our state. That is the job of the governor.
Yeah.
But we're scared to death to do it because, and this is the conversation. You know, a good mom and pop person that owns a little Mexican restaurant down on the corner, and they're good people, and you know they're good people, but you know they're illegal. And so the conversation focuses around that rather than the fact that Venezuela literally unloaded all of their prisons, put them on buses, drove them to the southern border, and released them into the United States. And many of them have come to Colorado. There are 45 to 50,000 Venezuelan cartel in Colorado, and that exists even across most of the rural areas. Why? Because this is a disruption military. This is a disruption group. This is a murdering group. This is a raping group. And they are here to do those things to disrupt our politics and to disrupt our financial systems. And most people can't wrap their minds around that because it seems too big. Yeah. But it's true.
It's true.
We know that this is true. And somewhere, we, the people, better stand up and take our state and our country back. Our health system is being destroyed. We just in Colorado, we had over 8,000 people go to one of our hospitals, Denver Health. It's a indigent hospital in downtown Denver that has been helping the poor for years, and we give it millions of dollars every year. Although hospitals all across the rest of the state are shutting down because of the same policies the Democrats are passing, but they had an inundation just in 2023 of 8,000 illegals that came into that hospital for emergent care. It cost almost, I think it was $9.1 billion in the process. Now, let me say that differently. $9.1 billion is nationwide. In Colorado, just at this, because of that one hospital, is $10 million that it costs. So now what happens is you have people that have come in the country legally that can't get emergent care because you have an illegal that's getting emergent care. That now we're putting all of our money, and this is why, by the way, this is why the Hispanic community in Colorado is pushing far to the right now. They are moving to the right like crazy because they have watched themselves, their parents, their grandparents come in legally, and now all of that help that used to be given when their family started paying taxes is now being taken from them and given to somebody else that's breaking the law. And I constantly have people say to me, well, these aren't bad people. They're not breaking the law. They broke the law coming in the country illegally. The very first thing they ever did before they set one foot on American soil was to break the law. So we have to hold this accountable. Now, yes, I think we need to go after the criminal groups first. The cartel, MS-13 is now combined with the Venezuelan cartel in Colorado to specifically go after cops. They made an agreement. I talked to an ICE guy down in Texas, actually, just a couple days ago, and he told me that that's actually the thing, that's the new trend, is these cartels are combining together to accomplish the bigger picture, which is not drugs, is to destroy America. Because they know if they can tear down America, that they can control major parts of the world if they can tear down America. America is the stopgap for all of this stuff.
Can I say amen? He's a pastor, so I'd like to say amen to that. I guess I can do that. He's right on.
He is. And thank you, Scott, for not just those numbers of the statistics, but the dollar amounts, and then the intended outcomes, which is to weaken our country, which makes it ripe for this consumption of power. But one of the things you mentioned about this swing and vote, and I'm talking to people who are much more versed than you three than I am. But if I recall, just in our last presidential election, President Trump won counties in Texas that haven't been won in decades, including where your former home county and down in El Paso. And I believe I'm right when I say that.
That's right.
And,
County.
And that vote came, yes, thank you. And that vote came from the exact people that you're talking about. It's encouraging to hear people are waking up. And thank you for being a truth bearer, and carrying that banner that people can read and then ask questions. And then once they get that confirmation, they're making lifelong decisions that they probably won't change.
That's a big deal. What he's talking about there is essentially a crime migration. It's not just a migration of humanity, it's a crime migration. Remember, the reason immigrants are coming to America in large part is because of the fact that there was such unrest, there was such crime. The cartels had such power. It was a violent world in El Salvador. It's a violent world in Nicaragua and Guatemala, and that's why they immigrated to America to escape that. And as Dr. Bottas rightly points out, we're just importing that into some of our communities, and thank goodness somebody's looking out for the Aurora, Colorados, and the Pueblo, Colorados, and the Colorado Springs, Colorados, because it doesn't seem as if the former administration did that.
Right.
They didn't give the America First concept much leeway. Now, what he's talking about there, if I heard him correctly, sounds a lot like how President Reagan, from a geopolitical vantage point, toppled Russia. We spend them out of existence, at least in the state that they're in. The Marxists, as he pointed out, are far more sinister than we give them credit for. And if they can bring organizations into this country that can force us to spend our way into oblivion, they'll do it. And that's that I believe is a sad reality.
There's another key to that too, because that is exactly right. This is an infiltration and a tear down to actually undermine our state, our country too. But for the Colorado to tear down Colorado, we've lost 2 health insurance groups out of Colorado in this last year. We lose businesses like crazy. Now, it's not just due to the illegal immigrant issue, but it is partly due to this. But I think there's also a bigger mindset here too. We had for most of our country's existence, we've had the e pluribus unum mentality, right? That from many one, and we don't really see that. We're seeing the opposite right now. We're seeing that the focus is on the one to have the many, but the many are they're everywhere on the chart when it comes to understanding things, seeing things. I've been in many different third world countries, and the concepts of America are not understood or accepted there. I've spent many times in India. Our church has a church in India. We built it. We own it. The pastors there are my associates, if you want to say that, from Church of Barrowgate, very far east. But we have this church there, and so I spend time there. And when I go over there, it's always, even though I know it's the case, it's always appalling to me how there are certain rules of law that America takes for granted that are not taken for granted over there. Something like traffic laws, they don't even exist. If you've ever been to somewhere like India or China, the traffic, stop lights and things like that are suggestions on a good day. But and then the trash. Two of our pastors that were there, I went. We were walking down the street, and I bought them an ice cream, and took the packages off these ice creams, and they threw them on the ground. And I'm holding mine, looking around. I said, "Where is the trash can?" And the guy that just sold it to us, I said, "Where is the trash can?" He said, "We don't have a trash can. Just throw it on the ground." And the 2 pastors, they looked at me like I was strange. I said, "Guys, you're just throwing your trash on the street?" And they said, "Yeah, where else would you put it?" I'm like, "A trash can." But that's their, and these are good men. But the idea that some of the things we take for granted in America, they're not.
Yeah.
from other countries. And so the more we have this pouring in where they don't go through the process, they don't understand our Constitution, they don't understand who we are as a country, they don't pledge allegiance to this country, any of those kind of things, and they come in by the millions without anybody having any conversation about any of this. It erodes all kinds of things going along. And this is one of the things, I had somebody ask me this in a town hall recently. Why has Denver become, there's just tents everywhere in Denver. We used to take our kids into downtown Denver a lot when they were little. There's a place called 16th Street Mall. It's a bunch of shops and it's a very touristy area and it's right in downtown. Me and my kids and my family used to go down there all the time, ride our bikes around, do all kinds of stuff. I wouldn't go down there at all. Every single weekend almost right now in Denver, somebody is stabbed down there. Somebody is shot down there.
Wow.
We're becoming Chicago. And there's tents everywhere and there's homeless everywhere. And you can see the trash piling up. We have one representative. This is not really my personality, but it was his. He would walk around downtown and take pictures of people pooping on the streets and then put that in a video clip. And it was dozens and dozens and dozens of people that he would see doing. We didn't have that 10 years ago in Denver. That didn't exist.
Yeah.
But that's what we've turned into. And some of it is the opposite of the e pluribus unum. We're going to come here and we're going to act like we've always acted in our other countries. And nobody's going to tell us no. Nobody's going to at least sit down and say, this is not how you're supposed to act, because we're scared to death to say one word to anybody about this stuff.
Right.
It's a deterioration of our entire country across the board with this. And we're seeing it very strong in Colorado.
You know, it's a fascinating thing. We've got a guest on TikTok that's given a couple of comments, and one of them is this needs to be addressed in the school system, because we're indoctrinating our kids to not realize the value of, and I'm kind of interpreting what he's saying, but the value of closed borders, the value of border security, and let's see.
And civics in a general sense.
He said, this is it's actually Jared Meehan. He's a friend of the show. He's a friend of mine. We did an interview with him last week. In fact, his interview is going to be published today, but he's watching live, and he says to not indoctrinate our kids with the few teachers and professors that are misinformed, as you were talking about being misinformed. And let's say, and constantly spread that around. And he said, what is the answer? Well, it's a fascinating thing. I mean, they're victimizing these young minds on the daily with more than just the immigration, ideology, but everything. And like, that's a huge issue to unpack. And I know you've got to travel, Dr. Bottoms, but do you have anything to say to that?
Yeah. So now you guys in Texas, you're a little bit better about this. Okay. Although you have to realize
a lot of things, but go ahead.
Yes, that's true. I grew up in Texas. I understand that. I was taught your hybrid. I was taught Texas history so strong. And then, oh, by the way, there is the country's history too. But taught Texas history very strongly.
The country of Texas, right?
The country of Texas. But here's what we're suffering with in Colorado is we don't teach civics in Colorado. There is no, you ask the average senior graduating from high school, they don't know what the three branches of government are. They have no idea how it works. They don't know how anything, I get emails constantly in Colorado. I get emails from people saying, Senator Bottoms, can you talk to President Trump? I'm like, I'm not a federal senator. I'm not a senator of the United States. Yeah. Congressman Bottoms, I'm not a congressman. I am a state representative, but people in Colorado don't know this because they haven't been taught this. We don't teach basic legitimate history in Colorado. We got the 1619 project and all this filth that's being taught as indoctrination, but you're not being taught something simple like, hey, what was World War II about? And what did Hitler do? And what were the extermination camps? You're not taught that in Colorado because we in June 1 of this year, look this up. It did not make national media. It barely made Colorado media. There was a group of Jews in Boulder, Colorado on June 1. They were out there standing there with some signs talking about October 7th. They weren't violent. They weren't doing anything. They were just standing on a street corner. A leftist Democrat, Palestinian supporter, but also Palestinian, he came up and started throwing Molotov cocktails at them.
Yeah.
There was this lady in a wheelchair. She was set on fire. She died from her burns. She was a Holocaust survivor that made it through the extermination camps and was killed in Boulder, Colorado by a leftist Democrat. We don't talk about reality. We don't talk about history. We don't even talk about modern stuff if it disagrees with the narrative. So yes, this guy's right. Our schools, which by the way, I have a huge plan to fix this for Colorado. Our school systems need to be gutted. The national education level has been taken away and dismantled by Trump. I'm going to do the same thing in the state of Colorado. We've got to tear this stuff down and start over. We're not teaching our kids anymore. We're grooming them. We're teaching CRT. We're teaching them all kinds of DEI stuff, but we will not teach them who the country is, what our founding fathers did, the amazing godliness of our founding fathers. We're not teaching that stuff. And so you got a generation that's growing up now thinking that anytime you say no to anybody, whether it be an illegal immigrant, a transgender that says they're biologically different, we don't say no to anybody. And so therefore, everybody's living a lie, and it's the lie of their own creation, believing something. By the way, that's what the Bible says too. In the last days, they will believe a lie. They know it's a lie, but they're believing it. And so now all of a sudden, Colorado, the rest of the country, we're mean, big, bad guys to immigrants. And we're not. We're just not.
So I've got a couple of things here. We've got one participant in the audience on TikTok that says to tell you that he has something to say. So I'm assuming that after I say that, he's going to say it, whatever it is. Hopefully it's clean enough that I can say it on air.
We welcome comments. We always do.
But keep
it's
it
nice when they're nice.
Yeah.
Nice when they're nice.
We appreciate the involvement of our audience on all our social media platforms. So we had somebody on there talking about Hitler and Mein Kampf, but bless their hearts. So I totally lost my train of thought. I was hoping that this, let me see.
If you want, I'll jump in for a minute because what he's talking about are Christian values that have historically been a fait accompli. I mean, these are the American values that we had for decades, a couple of centuries, and they're being eroded just on a daily basis. And nobody's teaching these things. So we're becoming a nation that's believing in a fantasy, and that's why I go back with that suicidal empathy. We're taught this empathy for our fellow man, which sounds great and is great if it were only that. Mm-hmm. But that empathy for certain special interest groups, or in this case, let's say immigrants, that empathy must come with a rational understanding of what lawlessness is, mm-hmm. and whether we become a nation that will acquiesce to the idea that lawlessness is okay. And I'm personally astounded we are where we are in America today, but we have to work with it as it is.
Well, empathy and tolerance are two completely different things.
Yeah.
I mean, I empathize with hurting people all the time. I empathize with people who are living in those countries who do want a better way for their families. I do empathize with that. And that's why we do have a system, a government system, who has spent decades developing this way of entry because of that empathy. Like, okay, you want a better way, but to first to ignore and pervert that system, there's your first problem. And the second thing, to come in as Dr. Bottom's just talking about, and to try to transform it back to where it was that you left. Mm-hmm. In what world does that make sense? Unless there is an underlying sinister plan.
Yeah.
And that is to erode and then to eventually take over, which it seems.
And at the grassroots level, Americans can rise up and say this is bunk, and we just won't accept it anymore.
Right.
If Americans want to do that. But as he's well framed, the socioeconomic ramifications of this education system that continues to
Right.
teach us a fantasy. That's very, very hard to overcome in the long range. But we must, tackle the idea of doing it.
But there's two ways people learn, and that's experience or exposure. And hopefully platforms like this, and I know Dr. Bottoms is in a campaign right now to expose. And then when necessary, and I appreciate your geographic references, go to downtown Denver, go to that park, go to those shops. You can see now you can go experience it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you don't have to wait for me to tell you,
right.
and unfortunately,
well said, yeah.
I'll give you another thing to, for all the people that are saying, hey, this is horrible, we're being mean to people or whatever. Okay, well then do this. Drive your car to downtown Denver, open the doors, leave the doors open, and walk around, take a walk,
mm-hmm.
and see what happens. See if I'm right. See if these are all just great people coming in, or if they're not. Or let's do the same thing with your home. Come into your house, open the door at night, leave all your doors open, leave your lights on, and put a sign out in your yard that says illegal immigrants welcome here.
Mm-hmm.
If you really believe that our laws and what we're trying to say is wrong and that we're the mean guys, well, then back it up with action, not just words. Do it. Open your doors at night, leave them open.
Right.
Make sure that the illegal immigrants in your community know that your house is a place where they can come to, and they don't have to go through a locked door, just like they did with the gates on the southern border. They were just thrown open and let in. If that is our policy, if that's our country's policy, then open your front door and your back door to prove it's a good policy.
So you don't need SNAP if you just have enough people that leave their door open.
right, word will get out.
Word will get around.
Excellent example.
I do have to take off, guys. I'm sorry about this.
Yeah, no, we appreciate you being on here with us today, and we're going to continue on. Is there any words that you'd like to leave the audience with as you depart?
ScottBottoms.com is my website, and if we really will pray for our country, love our neighbor like we're actually supposed to, which is not just enabling,
right?
And then get involved in the things around you, get involved in the politics, get involved in the conversations, guys. We can win our country back, and we will in Colorado. You watch 1 year from today. You watch. We're going to reclaim Colorado.
Well said, Dr. Bottoms.
Thank you very much for being a part of the show. Have a great day. Be
Thanks,
safe,
guys.
Yes, thank you, Scott. Always
we'll talk soon.
Man, he is so right on with so many of those concepts. He's
right.
Sounds like he's really got Colorado in mind, and the people of Colorado. I continue to believe there's a bedrock group of people in Texas, in Colorado, all across the country, even New York State. You wouldn't believe upper New York State, some of those counties up there, how many conservatives there are,
right,
who really understand that. That we're being sold a bill of goods, that the ideology coming out of the radical left right now is bunk, but they don't have the power to overcome it because of an entrenched political system that tells them they're wrong.
Right. So I want to address something on here. We have a guest, and his handle on TikTok is I am literal ghost. LOL. That's his handle. So he's had a bunch of comments, and I was reading them while Dr. Bottoms was talking, and they're relatively easy to address, but we're going to address them because I believe that if anyone is willing to put forth the energy to join our show and put on some comments, I think it's justified that we talk about them and talk to them.
Even though they're ignorant, from what I can read, some of them are quite ignorant from what I can see so far.
I'm going to address this one in particular, and it says he made some references that the discussion we were having was copying Hitler, which is beyond ridiculous. But then you said, Mr. Ghost or Mrs. Ghost, whatever you go by, these are white Christian values. And I'm going to go ahead and say something crazy that, I don't know, maybe you'll get it, maybe you won't. But to be a Christian is to be someone who desires or works to be like Christ. Mm-hmm. And as such, I know that the Jesus that I want to be like, he wasn't white. Yep. So your very comment in and of itself is actually racist from you. And
exactly. If you see everything in racial terms, of course, everybody else is a racist if they happen to be white. I mean,
if they differ from you,
right? So, it's kind of cowardly to always put the things in racial terms. The very stereotypes that many people want to have if they happen to be in a minority group. The very stereotypes are the exact same things that they have said for decades.
right.
Are bad. They have a stereotype that all white persons have a particular monolithic viewpoint.
Right.
And we just heard from Dr. Bottoms. He doesn't have that. He has a clear empathy for immigrants. He's, when he said that he had lived in El Paso County, I understood that very clearly, because when you live as a minority in a county for long enough, you see things in a little bit of a different way.
Sure.
When I lived in Cameron County, Texas, right on the Rio Grande River and right across the border from Mexico, it was the population's never less than 80, 85, 90% Hispanic American. So I'm the white guy, I'm the minority. And I had a wonderful time living down there, and it really enjoyed working with Channel 4. All of my Hispanic American friends were great to me, and we had a working dialogue. And this is back in the 90s, so it's a ways back. I don't know if moods and the sentiment has changed down there, but there was a sense of working with one another, that not everything was placed in racial terms. I just think it's cowardly to look at everything in racial terms and find a bigot under every bush, behind every bush. When you do that, you devolve humanity to a certain extent where you're not capable of looking at the real picture. You live in a fantasy land where there's a perception out there that tells you that you should look at everything. You don't know how I feel. You really don't. And yet, you may have views. You're a white guy. You sound like you're trying to be a Christian guy. So you have white Christian values. You must be the enemy. Well, that's just, back it up. And you can't. You can't back it up. That's the reality. All too often, being in digital news, I get to see that kind of regularly. I work with folks who comment. Engagement is we're so proud of our engagement because we will put out questions out there, not even how we really feel. We want to engage you in news talk. Here's a news story. Tell me how you feel about it. People will come in and they'll say just the craziest things I've ever heard. And I'll say, okay, tell me more. And so we even get the inboxes. I pretty much get an inbox daily that says, you're a racist POS. I say, okay, let's work with that. Prove it. Okay, what was it? Was there a given story in this past 24-hour period where you can tell me? Because if you have some corroboration for your argument, I will work with you. Like, I will be very careful not to phrase it in a certain way or something. But literally 90% of the time, nobody has a response to that. Why? Because Kevin Steele, 1813 News. You can find me on Facebook under Kevin Steele, Steele. We're racists. Okay. I'll tell you why we're racist, because we oppose mass illegal immigration. That's why. I mean, that's a fantasy land, if you ask me, that people would be able to determine someone's a racist based on what they view as the right thing to do in terms of political policy. They know nothing about me personally. They just say, you're a racist POS. Hey, we're getting comfortable with it. Watch out when America gets comfortable with the idea that they're a racist if they happen to be a white guy. Watch out for that. Because what I'll tell you what happens at that. And New York City is about to see this. Right? New York City is getting to. New York City is going to the 94% chance that Zoran Mamdani is going to win the mayoral race, and he's going to extol Marxist policy all across the great city of 10, 12 million people. There's already a mass exodus from the city. The city is $200 billion in debt. I don't mean to take too much time, but
No, you keep going.
I'm getting on a thing here.
We're in the midst of a season that this matters. I mean, this
Right
is
now.
Race matters.
extraordinarily important. Well, no, this you're
Intersections
talking
matter.
everything,
Yeah.
immigration. This is all tied together.
Yeah.
And New York City is at the forefront, at the heart of experiencing and about to experience even more.
It's going to be a tremendous laboratory because we are going to see in just a few short years. I'll bet you in 2 years, you take a city that's $200 billion in debt as we speak. We're going to see it way more in debt. And frankly, I believe New York City will go bankrupt because the policies that Mamdani has put forth so far are such that there will be a mass taxation. There will be a legalization of prostitution. There will be a defunding of policing as we know it currently, and that defunding of the law enforcement agencies will result naturally, I think, probably even at a psychological level. Although I defer to the pros for that. But at some level, Americans are going to say, we understand that we can get away with crime. And so what would you naturally expect?
Yeah.
Well, your idea, if you happen to be a critic of mine, I'll put it like that, is that your idea is that it's good to allow these things. We have to come up with new ideas because New York City has an affordability problem. Well, okay, great. New ideas, but how about new ideas that work? Because legalizing prostitution and defunding the police. So you're telling me New York City never has a crime problem? I mean, it's kind of hard for me to believe.
Right.
I kind of find you ridiculous if you say. I kind of find you ridiculous. So tell me more. Send your comments in.
So I find something fascinating we've got going on here, just to talk to our TikTok audience and everybody else out there. We've got a couple of people who are obviously extraordinarily infatuated with race.
Yeah.
They are so hyper focused on it that they're having their little sidebar conversation, a couple of the audience members, about whether you're Italian or not Italian, what race you are, talking about your eyebrows. You know, it's funny to me. I find this so fascinating.
What's wrong with my eyebrows?
It happens to, well,
I work really hard on these eyebrows.
it happens to me on my personal social media, on my Facebook page, that when someone has no real argument, but they hate you, they attack you personally.
Because
that's all they have left.
Yeah, yeah.
There's no real argument. There's no meat. There's no substance.
Like I say, we get those the inbox messages. You know, I'll say, and quite sincerely, I'll say, listen, tell me what it is that makes you say that I'm a racist. Because
It's your eyebrows.
Hey, I don't care what you say. These eyebrows, baby. This is the moneymaker right here. Okay, it has long been such.
Well, I challenge the ghost, and I challenge whoever the ghost may be talking to.
Oh, we've got Azula on here
Grow beyond your genetics, seriously, because you're limiting your learning.
Sure. Azula just asked, do we take guests to speak? In fact, we always invite people if they have if they have the wherewithal. If you want to join us, you're more than welcome. I personally was a huge fan of Charlie Kirk, still am. Love his format, and we will continue the conversation. If you want to come on live, we'll do it right now. Come on.
You've seen the vice president even do that.
I don't
recently.
Yes.
I don't have any objection to that whatsoever. Oh, are you threatening now? So Ghost is talking about the Charlie Kirk getting shot in the neck, and he's saying stuff as though he enjoyed that.
It's kind of par for the course. I mean, the average radical leftist or Marxist, they really have no logical answers. It's more of a confrontation, you know. And we get it. We're not. I mean, I'm not intimidated anymore by the questions. I mean, I've had so many comments. Hey, we're waiting for you. You'll never see it coming.
Man.
And if that's how I would go out, it would be okay.
Sure.
With me.
Sure.
But we know you don't mean it. But you don't mean the things that you say you honestly believe in either.
Right.
You really believe every. Let me put it this way. Do you really believe that every Black American is racist? because you're telling us that every white American is racist.
Right.
I mean, come on.
There's no way.
That's not a sound,
There's no
logical argument.
That's
So
right.
bring something right
Bring
now.
something.
Bring something that makes
Yeah.
some sense, and then we'll talk about
There
it.
you go. Well, gentlemen, I'm going to step away, let y'all finish the broadcast today. Thank you.
Good to
Kevin.
see you.
Yeah, you too,
We
man.
appreciate it.
Excellent points. And
Appreciate it.
Rob and Dr. Bottoms, even though he's gone, we appreciate him too.
He was
But
great.
yeah. So, hey, enjoy the momentum. Enjoy the momentum.
Thank you, Chuck.
Yeah.
Come on with it.
So I'm. If you would like to join us live, if you know how to do the live request, I would be glad to bring you in. So I'm looking at you right now, and I don't see you requesting to join, but you're welcome to.
He's probably a coward. Is probably the reason he's not joining. He probably would be too frightened.
I'm resisting assigning a pronoun because I don't know. Like I don't want to offend anyone or even be called more, derogatory terms.
Right? Sure.
I don't want to hurt feelings.
Well, and quite literally, I want to put it this way. I'm putting out some provocative points there, but really, these important questions in America must be broached in a sound, logical, rational way, because this whole reactionary sort of crazy town talk. When I look at Chicago and I see the National Guard moving into Chicago and trying to restore a sense of order in the city. And then I see people doxing and literally following ICE agents to their homes with the express purpose of telling others where the ICE, that's something on the close to a murderer, who wants to do that. And I don't know. I can't find a sound, logical answer for that. So if you have a sound, reasonable way of explaining that to me, I'd love to hear it.
So something I want to talk about that we haven't really gotten to discuss yet is in the current media all over the place. I've seen you post stuff about it.
Are we talking national news media or
national news
it
media?
Makes a big difference.
But it's also Texas.
Okay.
And it's also, it's affecting us right here.
Okay.
And that is do illegal immigrants, are they getting benefits from our healthcare system or not?
Sure.
And then are they truly a financial burden to us or not? Those two questions are very closely related to each other. And it has to do with the topic that we're talking about today. And I find it fascinating that a whole lot of mostly left, mostly liberals like to say that that's fake news. But there's a fascinating fact that I'm going to point out to you, and you guys that are watching on the left, you're welcome to comment about this. But so what if there's an illegal here and they get caught and they get picked up? What happens to them then? Where do they go? Does anyone know?
They go to a detention center.
Yes. They go to a detention center. So I'm just curious, who funds that? The taxpayers do.
Some of these people on here do. They just don't know it.
And then to make things even more interesting, if they're in that detention center, how are they treated? Have you ever checked into that? They're so sad and pitiful. They've already broken our laws. They've come here illegally. They've disrespected our country and decided not to assimilate. So once they're in that detention center, how are they treated? Well, I would wager that if you found out, they're treated pretty darn well. They've got air conditioning, warm or cool, whichever the case is needed. They've got entertainment. They can watch television. They're fed well. They have a laundry service. Basically, they're treated, a lot better than our homeless veterans.
Yeah, well, it's a great question that you put out there. And while others are commenting, let me put forward some ideas here. To the point of treatment, I haven't seen any stories lately about treatment. I know at the detention center in Cameron County, out by the coast, it was pretty good treatment. I've also seen stories about the treatment at some of the newest facilities, being Alligator Alcatraz, where there's been questions about treatment. Now, I'm one who believes that, okay, while in detention, our immigrants need to be, or illegal immigrants need to be treated humanely. I don't know that they need to have lavish circumstances. I think they should be treated humanely, and that they have every right to have, been given, kind of a fair shake, so to speak. Having said that,
now you're referencing specifically the ones who haven't broken more laws except being illegal immigrants.
Well, even in our prison systems, if you committed a crime, if you're a murderer, you have a certain, I believe, right to humane conditions. In other words, you get fed. You may not get fed, sirloin steak, but you get fed. You're in a place that's warm and or cold, as the case may be. In other words, I don't think our prisons are designed in part, and there are many rehabilitative questions that could go in here, but our prison systems are built as a deterrent. If you commit a crime, there's a deterrent for you, and that is that you go to prison and you're essentially robbed of some of the liberties that you would ordinarily have in regular life. But I believe, you should be treated humanely while there. Having said that, most of our immigrants are treated humanely, I believe. But it's a great question we should look into further. Center for Immigration Studies has told us over and over that the deportation involves people who have committed crimes. Tom Homan, the border czar, and some of the members of the administration have an ongoing debate right now, according to Bill Malugin of Fox News, an ongoing debate about just how many of the deportees and detainees that become deportees, how many should be people who have committed second crimes, violent crimes, rape, murder, some kind of violent crime while here. And I believe it's the right thing to do, because in practical terms, I don't believe that you can deport 25 million immigrants. And so for that reason,
especially when their home nations don't want them back.
That's the case in some cases, especially Venezuela, where the prisons were, according to the administration, where the prisons were essentially, the doors were flung open, and, the people from prisons, hey, go to the United States. Well, that's a United States problem now.
Yeah.
And some of our viewers who may see this, will say, well, no big deal. We're empathetic, man. We're out there for the well, you're empathetic until one of these Venezuelans ends up living across the street or in your apartment complex, and then he brutalizes your friend. He is dealing drugs out of your apartment complex, and that brings additional crime. And then it's all then you may see things a little bit different way. And that's real life.
Or he's here illegally. He goes and gets drunk. He's already been dealt with that way from the law and released after he got drunk. And he goes and kills your 14-year-old son.
Yeah.
That happened in La Quinta, California.
These things happen. That's a real life example. Yeah.
And so what do you think should be done with him then? I don't think that person who killed that 14-year-old boy, he doesn't deserve humane treatment.
Yeah,
I don't agree with that. I think he deserves a death penalty.
And I guess it's
you can hate me for that if you want, but I think the guy that claims he hears voices that killed Irina Zaruska, I think he deserves the death penalty. I think that those people should get a fast lane pass to be unalived.
Have you ever seen an execution? It's very. I witnessed an execution in Huntsville a couple of years back, and I couldn't believe how easy it was to go into his next life. It literally was a matter of what appeared to be a yawn, and he went to sleep. That was the lethal injection that took out a man who murdered a firefighter in Port Arthur, Texas, and he was executed, and it was like he took a nap forever, right? So we would be better off as a society, without people that commit murder like that. The most horrific stabbing I've ever really witnessed. What a cowardly stabbing! To stab a woman in the neck who's probably weighs all of 100 pounds from behind.
And then just walk off, and the whole train car full of people watched her die.
Walk away. And
so I've got an interesting comment here, a couple of them. Number one, I want to bring up Cody. This guy named Cody is on here making comments, and I know Cody. He is actually a Marine veteran. He's a good guy, stand-up guy. He's a father. And he's a true American patriot. And he says the illegal immigrants are treated better than our own veterans. And I think he has pretty decent firsthand knowledge of that. And I don't disagree with him.
Right.
And then we've got another person on here, Laney, that agrees with Cody and that they have more rights. Thank you guys for participating in the discussion. And then old Ghost over here, he's still talking. And he says that, I said that I think that the person who killed like Irina Zaruska or that 14-year-old boy in California, I think they deserve the death penalty. And he says what they all say about, well, you call yourself a Christian? What about forgiveness? Well, I'll tell you what, Ghost, if you want to forgive him for killing your neighbors, why don't you go house him? Why don't you go rehabilitate him? Because I'm going to tell you this. I don't want to breathe the same air as that person. And maybe that gives me the fault of being flawed as a human. Maybe that makes me a failed Christian, but I can accept that.
I don't think it makes you a failed Christian. I think there's a vast misunderstanding of what God's law says. I mean, there's a tremendous, fantasy out there that we have to. Well, and again, if you really believe that, then you take in the killer of Irina, or you allow him to live across the street from you and your family, and then it'll be or even if you can put yourself in that mental mind state. Now, the killer of Irina, I don't know about the mental capacity of this man. That's a whole different question. But assuming he has a mental ability to understand right from wrong, and it seems from his criminal record that he had a long time to figure it out in advance. It's really sad to see that a guy like that was allowed to be on the street
14 times before he killed Irina. 14 times he had broken more laws than just being here illegally. And here's the sick thing about that case. Irina decided to become an American and did it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
She was assimilating to be a loyal, America-loving patriot.
Mm-hmm.
She loved our nation enough to respect its laws, come here correctly, do it the right way, and she was killed by a monster for it. So Laney, which I don't disagree with her, but I mean, I don't want to make myself the executioner. Laney says sometimes justice lays in our hands, and that is true. Alex died. Thank you for your comment. Alex says, good morning from California. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
And yeah, I agree with you, Ghost. It does sound like you've got some entitlement issues. I don't know exactly what other issues you may have, but it does sound like you may have some entitlement ones.
Well, it's probably a lot of issues. We still love you, but when you're wrong, you're wrong, and it just goes to you're not the only person with fantasy concepts about living right in the world. You're not alone. There are tens of thousands just like you with this suicidal empathy, I like to call it, where you are willing to, as a nation, commit suicide because you have this view of being empathetic to everyone, everywhere, regardless of whether they are going to stab you in the neck or not, regardless of whether they're going to legally come into our country, as 1 million people do a year, and accept the generosity of a great nation or not.
Kevin, I think it's a hero syndrome.
It's a hero syndrome. Let me elaborate.
I think that people on the left, they want to be everyone's hero. They want everyone, no matter what the cost.
Yeah.
There is no right and wrong. It's only if I can be your hero.
It's interesting because, you think over and over, we're a nation that's $38 trillion in debt. $38 trillion. I mean, it's not sustainable. I mean, with the concepts that some of the radical left puts into our country, you would think we are the richest country on earth, and that is a sustainable wealth that we're going to have forever. And it's just not the case. One of these days, with a debt that's 38 trillion and the interest payments annually growing at such an exponential rate, at some point it all goes parabolic, and your nation comes to a grinding collapse. And then it won't be a question of, well, gee, shouldn't we give more money to illegal immigrants? It'll be a question of, oh, forget all that stuff I said back then. I just would really like to know how I'm going to eat tomorrow, because we're in another Great Depression.
Right. Azula, you're right. Yes. And Kevin was actually saying that
we are
the USA is the richest nation on earth, but it's not permanent. It's not guaranteed. We are that way because we're a nation of laws, because we're a nation of honor, and because we're a capitalist constitutional republic. That's why we are the way that we are. And if we keep watering that down with other ideologies that compromise those virtues, we won't remain the most prosperous nation on earth.
See, that's the fantasy concept that, yes, we're the wealthiest nation on earth, and it's going to stay that way. Well, you have to understand it. And if you just listen to Chairman Powell of the Fed, you'll understand that these are fairly precarious times. Inflation's been brought down at about 3.3%. The Trump administration has done a great job of checking a lot of the economic indicators that would put us into that collapse. I don't want to get alarmist, but it can't endure forever. And we have vast defense expenditures now that we're working with as a country. It just doesn't last forever. The gravy train just doesn't last forever. If you think about how you run your own household, it's akin to your household getting $100,000 in debt on your credit cards, and then expecting that somehow, some way, it's all I should keep spending. Maybe I need to get another truck, even though I'm $100,000 in debt on my credit cards. I mean, it's just kind of a fantasy ideology.
That's entitlement ideology. That's what it is. I deserve to have everything that I want given to me now. Didn't pay the cost.
It's unfortunately childish.
It's very much immature.
It's childish and cowardly when you think about how people respond to the illegal immigration question. We should just bring everybody in. We should pay the bills for everybody. $500 a night hotel rooms, totally cool with us. But at some point, it really does come to a crashing halt. And the mature man or woman says, look, I understand that from basic financial reasoning. And so I'm going to work with that. But a lot of people don't, as evidenced by online right now.
It's pretty fascinating, and we've strayed a lot from the initial conversation, and that's okay. That's how these things evolve sometimes, or devolve.
Don't hate him, hate me, Kevin Steele. You can find me on Facebook under Kevin Steele, Steele. And we would welcome your comments there.
So apparently ghosts can see something in our eyes. I'm not sure which one of us he's looking at. And he says that we're making him famous. Bless his heart.
Good.
So I don't mind if you want to hate me too. It doesn't bother me a bit. But hey, I want to send a shout out to P. Mar. I saw you join the chat earlier, join the stream. I don't know where it went. There you are. PMAR.04. Thank you for joining. It's good to see you on here. Love you. I hope you're there. I hope you can hear me. And let's see what else we got here. If any of you want to join, just let me know. I mean, I'm glad to bring you on. We're happy to have a live conversation with you. Let's see. Oh, and that's man. They brought up a great point to discuss. It'll be something. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll close this. We'll make this our last portion of the show before we close. Okay, this is fascinating. So they brought up two people that are very famous in our country. Two people. Well, one of them, you're not going to forget either of these.
Okay.
One of them's the richest man on earth.
Okay, Elon Musk.
Yeah. and the other one just happens to be the president of the United States.
President Trump.
So they brought these two guys up in the reference of they are multi-billionaires.
Right.
And these are facts, right?
True.
These are straight facts. And the comment was made that if those two guys would just give everybody their money, they could fix all the problems. You know what's funny about that is that's as if you'd say, well, if you just give all of the drug addicts all the cocaine they could use, then they'd be fine too. Does that make sense? The problem is not the amount of money that you have. It's the amount of money that you're willing to earn. When you're given something that you're not entitled, you didn't earn, you don't possess it. You don't own it. You don't use it properly. You're not a good steward of it. So if you took all the money that exists in this earth and divided equally among every person that exists, you wouldn't solve anything. All you would do is first you devalue all the money. It wouldn't be worth anything anymore. And then the second thing that you would do is all the people that had it to begin with, they'd have it again in a very short period of time because they know how to earn it. Mm-hmm. They know how to manage it, and they know how to grow it.
There's a lot to that. It would be interesting to hear how Dr. Bottoms would reference this because people don't realize what a trillion is. 38 trillion in debt. They don't really know the math. Man, y'all need to school up a little bit. Go back to math class and learn what a trillion is. If Doge's cuts are as successful as Elon Musk wanted them to be, then all the cuts that Elon Musk put together so far will do 700 million in savings to possibly a trillion. So that would be an annual savings of maybe a trillion, half trillion per year. And that is assuming no new expenditures for the United States in those years. Elon Musk is a billionaire 400 times over, I think it is. He's a $400 billion man, which is a lot of money, and it goes nowhere when you're looking at an overall debt of 38 trillion.
Right. So Cody says basic economics means, hey, you have more money, give it to me without, so I don't have to work for it. Yeah, right. I actually think that's the opposite. I mean, Cody, I know you're joking, but that's the absolute opposite of the law of economics. So you know what it's like to be hungry. Actually, Ghost, I think it's so funny how people, keyboard warriors, they get online and they start to judge people based on what they see. And it's so, I guess that's the easy, or I'm going to go ahead and stick it out there. I think that's the weak way to be. That's a very small and immature way to be. I don't judge you behind your keyboard about what you look like, about what you think or whatever. I only judge what you write out there. So I'm going to tell you, for that question, I find it fascinating. You asked if I'd ever been hungry. Well, depends on how you look at it. I have, when I was a child, I've experienced what it's like to be homeless. I've experienced what it's like to be very monetarily poor. I've lived on both sides of that spectrum.
Yeah.
I've been in the lower class, the very much lower class. I've been on food stamps. I've been on commodities. I've eaten government cheese. I've eaten government peanut butter. I've had government butter. So I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like to have very little. But I also know what it's like to have an example in my life of a man who was unwilling to quit. I know what it's like to see what true discipline does to a person, no matter what their circumstances are. And that was the example that I had put before me, that, we go through circumstances that are hard. And yes, this topic today about illegal immigration, those people that come here, a lot of times they are in a difficult circumstance.
Yeah.
And they may need help, but they're not entitled to everything for free. They're not entitled to come here, break our laws, and expect us to pay the cost for it.
True.
They're not entitled to come here, take it, kill us, and then remain here scot-free.
I've got something that is possibly a little controversial to the average conservative mindset, and that is this view that while the emphasis at this point on detaining and deporting illegal immigrants is a productive and a valuable policy of this country, I believe in it. Here's the thing. We have to do it in a way that will be indeed productive. It's implausible, in my view, that the United States, even at the current pace, where there are now 2 million deportees, according to the Trump administration, both from those who have been detained and those who have self-deported, 2 million now in almost a year. Well, if you extrapolate that out, it doesn't come close to the 25 million deportees or the 25 million illegal immigrants that have made it into the country that the president says. And the numbers are arguable, but if it's 25 million illegal immigrants, there's no way that you get all the illegal immigrants that Mr. Trump has said he wants out. You can't get them out. So I propose that we should deport the violent criminals and make a concerted effort to get out. There's a kid in Houston, Texas. I think he's in the Spring area. Who's a soccer player. He's been here all of his life. His father was an illegal immigrant who's lived here for 20 some years, and he's being deported because my understanding is he had a DWI, the father did. And so there was, at least at first, there was a question of whether the young man, star soccer player in the Houston area, whether he also would be deported. I think we should make a concentrated effort, both from the vantage point of making a statement to the world that we're not after all illegal immigrants. It's not a racial matter. It's not a question of whether, we have a bigoted viewpoint or have a hate. It comes simply from the idea of having a law-abiding society, and that the people that are the rapists and the child molesters and the murderers, they need to go immediately and fast.
Yeah.
I don't know if I made that point.
I think you did. I'm going to summarize what my co-host here was, I think, what you were saying. You illustrated about what ICE is doing.
Uh-huh.
They're targeting the worst. They're going after people who have already shown themselves to be uncaring to attain legal status.
Right.
They are criminals, not just because they're here illegally, but because they're participating in active crimes. They've already been dealt with. They've already had run-ins with law enforcement, not just being here illegally.
Two-time offender. You could use the term two-time offender. They not only have broken the law of illegal entry, which is right there in the federal code, for goodness sake, look it up. They've not only committed an illegal entry crime, but they've committed the crime of murder, rape, molestation of children, something like that. The administration, Tom Homan, says, if we can believe them, that 70% of the detainees so far, in all of these 5 major cities where the National Guard has been employed and where ICE is, the 5 major cities, 70%, but I think these numbers are extrapolated across the country. 70% of the detainees in the United States at this point, about 10 months, 11 months into the administration, 10 months into the administration, 70% have been what I'm referring to as two-time offenders. In other words, they've committed some kind of a crime in the United States. I think that's a good percentage. I wish it was a 90% percentage. And then when that happened, we would have rid ourselves in the United States of a tremendous crime problem, which some of my critics have not even taken into account the notion that we're deporting crime to a very large extent.
So we've got a guest on here, one of the ones that's been discussing with us, Azula. Can you hear us?
Azula, put your picture up.
I can't hear you. I have you on. I have your volume turned up, but I can't hear you. Are you there, Azula?
Uh-oh, technical difficulties.
Well, I don't know.
Is Azula really there?
So I have your icon up on the screen, but I don't know how to help you if you can't bring the sound up. Show you to be active and on. So, well, Azula, you don't.
I think
She left. Or
she left us, but it was valiant of her.
Yeah, I mean, she at least
to come on,
put it out there. Don't know what happened, but
come back next time. And
I do have it enabled, according to Ghost. He says, or she, whatever Ghost is, I don't have it enabled, but I do. I actually went into the settings and made sure. No, I didn't have her muted at all. I looked at the mic, pulled it up just to be certain. But anyway, keep commenting. We welcome you to do it. We've had a great show. Thank you for the spirited discussion. We're going to go ahead and close it out there. We've been on here now for an hour and a half. It's been a lot of fun, and we will be back here next Tuesday at 10 o'clock. I'll be putting out an announcement before then. Typically, this is the 10 o'clock Tuesday show is called What Are We Doing series. We sprinkle in a lot of charged topics. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear from you. We're definitely not running from Azula. We'd love to talk to her. I don't know how to help her. But anyway, you guys have a great day. It's good to talk with you. I'm Rob.
I'm Kevin.
And we will talk soon. Thank you.